around and discussing many things in the last 2 days. I also like to have the perspective, what can you take home now, and like what is different. For me personally, it was nice seeing that there's a lot of very interested people here, very passionate about it, about the topic. You don't always see that nowadays on like conferences. There's also a lot of more superficial talk. I had a different feeling here, which is nice. But I would like to look further into that. What is the most useful ideas you're taking home now, and what can be also next steps? So maybe I would like to ask like each one of you to kind of just have like a very short introduction. What was the one thing that maybe you didn't have in your mind yet, if there was something? And then we'll continue talking on the base of that. So, Frederike, is there something that surprised you? There was something you have not had in mind yet, and an eye-opener that came in the last 2 days, or is this what you take out of this event?
Well, the one thing that I found this time, but also like last time, really amazing to see the energy in the room and the people working in a network, kind of getting to talk to each other. I think that's maybe not surprising, but you actually don't have it so often. That also really by doing and working together, you get to know each other and get so much deeper into topics. I found that really great to experience this design thinking method and seeing so many things parallelly. I think actually I also a bit overwhelmed by so many ideas and so many things at the same time that I also was kind of, I'm in this one, or should I better go there, or speak to that person, or go to this challenge, that somehow I still can't really say this is the one or other idea. But what I would wish actually that everybody really takes out from these ideas inspiration and starts kind of, I think the most interesting thing is probably what comes after and how these ideas are taken forward. And I think one that all of us gained here is kind of this thinking about it and the network and so on, but I think kind of really seeing what can I take home and where can maybe people re-meet, and maybe also take the last hours or the next days to kind of really see, okay, this was interesting, how can we reconnect? Because I think these processes take such a long time, so this is an initial point, but I think we need to continue, and a lot of the ideas can be starting point for real projects, and that is what I would wish to come out.
Great. I guess you can also implement that in your master program a little bit.
They're great students here.
Yes, they're great students here, and also from the new group, a lot of them joined here, so I hope that will be carried on.
Yeah, and I mean for us as Circular Economy, we're in the kind of business of finding solutions, circular solutions to problems, and I think sometimes we kind of get stuck in a bit of an ivory tower and kind of do things and hope that those solutions are actually practical and scalable. But the nice thing about these open source days is you kind of put your challenges out there and you kind of crowdsource ideas from different places, different people with different backgrounds as well. So it's a great chance to kind of test out what kind of new ideas come up, what's feasible, what's not, what are people really thinking. But more importantly, just to kind of connect with other people who are also passionate about the same topic and willing to kind of contribute solutions as well. So yeah, kind of to add to your points about it's just a great starting point to kind of let people know that we are all working on this topic and how can we collaborate more.
Right. Did you, or you both, maybe the question is for you both, how did you like the mix of people, I mean, the different backgrounds? Was that interesting for you, or did you think, oh, they all coming from the same textile fashion background, or was that kind of something you could benefit from also, that there was quite a wide spread background, do you know?
Yeah, definitely. So there were people in our group, one was an anthropologist, someone had cradle-to-cradle experience, and also we brought some circular expertise, so it was kind of a great way to discuss from different perspectives and different angles of at least the textile chain. What are ways to kind of resolve issues of logistics and recycling and end of life, etc. Yeah, definitely.
Cool. You want to add something, Gwen? Or?
Not on that point, but maybe just to your general question. The textiles program have always kind of thought, you know, let's us at Circular Economy focus on the systematic change that needs to happen, the recycling technology, the fibre sorting, the platform, etc., before we begin to address the collection rates. Because why should we collect more if we don't have a good end solution for what we collect? Because not everything can go towards reuse. But now I feel like the time has come where we have to begin to shift that a little bit. I also feel like today I got excited again about talking to people outside the ivory tower about circularity, and what we do in Circular Economy is very much trying to understand how can we engage the masses around this topic. And I am now more inspired to look from a consumer perspective and try and bring in that angle into the work that we do in the textiles program, I think. So move a little bit away from maybe the back end systematic thinking and begin to at least bring in the outside viewpoint more.
Great.
It's really so hard to answer this question. I agree with you, Frederike. It's been intense 2 days, fantastic 2 days, so many ideas, so many discussions, so many new connections. So it's really hard to just get it all in. But I guess what kind of struck me the most is that we have 3 challenges put out there. But there's actually 2 words coming back all the time, and that's curation and individuality. And that, I think, is really interesting. No matter if you talk about the store experience or your wardrobe or even the second-hand theme, you come back to the curation, which is, I think that's what we need, actually. So I'm so much looking forward to start taking the insights and the ideas and start to showcase this in our stores, in our business. I'm really looking forward to that.
Well, that's very great. I mean, I think that's also something which in general was very nice on this event, that this connection came and that there was coming in challenges, questions from outside, but directly from the industry, from a practical background. And yeah, great. That's nice.
Well, in my challenge, we focus more on the open source aspect, less on the circularity, but I think for me the insight that I got was that before yesterday, open source for me was mainly about sharing the ideas and designs that I had, just putting them out there and seeing what other people would do, hoping that one way or another they would come back with their ideas and their designs and their changes to the stuff that I made. But yesterday during the challenge I started to realize that if I want people to give something back, I really have to focus also on that. I mean, it's not a given that people are going to come back with their designs. I see now with the designs that I put out, I see a lot of them, or a lot of people changing it, taking pictures of the garments that they created, but not sharing the designs back. So I need to come up with a system, or we need to come up with a system that gives a reward to people, I think, to normal people, but also to designers, to feed new ideas or new designs or new materials or solutions into these open source platforms. I think all the platforms that I've seen so far, they're kind of one-sided. It's one party setting up this platform, sharing their ideas, and then other people taking it. So from now on I want to think always in the back of my mind, how am I going to promote or reward people for giving back instead of just giving it out as a, yeah. I think it won't automatically work, the system of continuity and receiving feedback and better designs. It's not automatic that it will work. So we need to think about it, how to make the system work. And yeah, we discussed some solutions yesterday, but I mean, there's not the one that I think is going to really work yet. So that's what I want to take back and continue to work on.
So you're kind of taking a task back home, not a solution.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yet, but,
just more work. Yeah.
Oh, annoying. No, but that sounds like it was quite inspiring, actually.
Yeah, definitely. It really changed my mind about the open source stuff that I was doing. So that's good. That's
great.
In one day, that's quite something.
Quite something, yeah. And I mean, actually, also it goes a bit in the direction as like the consumer perspective also. I mean, that you think more about, okay, your customer, put yourself in that perspective. I mean, you said that also. I think that's a general topic within fashion industry now. Well, retail is in a crisis. Nobody really knows where it's going. So we all have to get closer to the consumer and understand what does he nowadays want. And we all are consumers ourselves, but maybe not the prototype.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's a general big topic nowadays, and something that where circularity can be part of.
Yeah, we really have to get into the mind of the people that have to use the systems that we propose. It's not, people are not going to use these systems because they're better or more sustainable. They're going to use the system only if it's more attractive for them. So we really have to tempt them to start using this, or give them our rewards to use the systems.
Yeah. Well, actually, I guess curating is also one version of that. It's one very direct form of communicating with your customers and like kind of giving them an extra service.
Definitely, and one other discussion that was pretty clear is the online versus offline, where online has one service to provide to the customers in terms of efficiency or one sort of inspiration. But where the offline and the stores are more the whole personal thing. And in terms of where society is going, where everything is available everywhere all the time, and you are the constant feed of information, sometimes you just feel that time is luxury. You know, take the time to relax, to reflect, so I think the stores might have a role to fill in that sense, where you could actually, depending, or if it's a community or a fashion forum that we've seen in the pitches, I think that it might fill a need in that sense. Trying not to be too fluffy. Yeah. But also I need to add one thing. What's really interesting and one insight is that I've got another perspective of secondhand, because we've been working with secondhand since 2008. We had that Frederike Beha secondhand store for so many years, and when you go into that store, you don't feel like it's a secondhand. So your perspective of secondhand, that it's yucky or stinky, I didn't even think about it. So we have kind of just, we haven't even had that perspective. So I'm grateful for that. Now I know one of the challenges of really taking secondhand a step forward.
That's interesting, like, yeah, well. So, but then in a way you probably have done it better than many others just by not knowing that there was this problem actually.
Well, of course we knew there was this problem, but still I wouldn't think that it was the common view of secondhand, if I put it that way. Yeah.
Correct. I mean, what I found in general quite fascinating with this Frederike Beha is like how when you have a brand where you bring a lot of these aspects together. So you have your own second-hand shop, you start your own leasing system, you kind of have a lot of control over the whole brand thing. I think that's something which, if you think about circularity, obviously something, but logically it comes together, you will have to think about the whole thing and have a very holistic aspect on that. Therefore it helps when, as a brand, you are in control about a lot of these aspects. Or, I mean, this was in some of the groups I was moderating, that creating some kind of branding for like the whole recycling logistic line or so on. So at least that it all comes as a package and was thought through once in a holistic way. And but I guess by nature, like Frederike Beha has, maybe through the business model, how it grew and that it came, it's more like a family business still, maybe in that sense. It's more together, but that probably helps you a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, it definitely does. But what Frederike actually also, she gave me an insight yesterday. No, but the whole idea of maybe the customer doesn't even have to know that they're part of a circle. It's actually, we as a brand, we have that as a strategy in order to make successful business in the future as well. And of course, by having the control of all the circles, we have a value proposition for ourselves. by doing that. But the customers, they should do it because we're providing them with something that they want, something that they need, inspiration, and it might not be the same customer that goes to the second-hand store or the one who's leasing, or and if you look at the second-hand store today, we have different customers that buy second-hand, and there are other customers who hands in. So it might not even be the same customers. So to really have a customer perspective when communicating about this and making this an attractive solution, we need to keep that in mind, because it's not the circularity itself that's going to sell it.
Yeah, interesting. But then actually, the brand is the circularity, and it doesn't need to be obvious for the consumer, not at all. But that is actually, I mean, you've just been describing a very interesting business case. You can kind of target different customers through the different sales channels or different approaches to not even sale, but also renting. And yeah, for you have to bring it together. But then if it works, it's kind of decided through if you give a good service for each individual case. Is that, yeah, what I would like to ask you also about that. How's your view on that? Because you work well from the design side coming, but obviously into like how can it work as a business?
Actually, I just wanted to add on what you were saying before I come back to your question, or maybe it also answered it, I don't know. I think this is a point that also Michael Braungart made when he was some days ago with my students, that actually this conventional system of selling your garments, the companies invest double the amount of what the product actually needs for being made to communicate it and sell it. But the idea is like actually how to get them back. So kind of in your case, just that you mentioned, they come back to bring the stuff, they come back to get new stuff. They this kind of investing in the system differently, not only through putting so much money out for advertisement. And that is maybe the greater idea that stands behind it. How do we treat our customers? How do we service them and make them come back, make them friends, and not only invest into another into an image also. And I think this is an interesting part about circularity as well, because if you make it on this kind of positive aspect, it's kind of being positively connected on again and again and again, and make the reason why they should come back and what they could gain from a company, becoming part of a community, becoming part of whatever.
Yeah. And except from building that long-term relationship with your customers, it's also a way of building a long-term relationship with your product. So you actually get good feedback on how do our products actually, how good are they? You can see and you get feedback because you get them back all the time. So you know how you can improve also. Yeah. That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, in a way, it functions very much like how we have been working today on these iterative feedback loops. Lena, the Fashion Library in Amsterdam, that's one of their big USPs, is that they house young designers who can then rent out their stuff for a period of time. And when they bring it back to the Fashion Library, of course, the librarian asks, how did you find it? And they say, well, I actually rented something from Philippe Becquet there, and a beautiful pair of silk trousers, but totally impractical for Amsterdam, because I was terrified to go on my bike, you know? And I said that to her, she was logging it into the computer, because that becomes data for you then. So it's also a way of building data around what your customers want, what they need, country specific, city specific, can be really interesting.
But that's the better marketing, yeah? So like all these huge marketing budgets, they could maybe be better invested into these kind of projects. I mean, this money is around there anyway, I don't know, like these brands like Nike and so on, they spend enormous amounts in marketing. If they would shift it more into like projects where they kind of actually go into a direct customer contact, making new concepts, maybe that could also be a step on how to bring the industry to go further. Is that?
And maybe also then to invest more in the product and make a far better quality of product with the right ingredients again, kind of to make them healthy and good. And then the money that is nowadays invested in communication, it gets in those systems and products. I think that would be super.
Well, that could be a challenge for the next year, I guess, then, how to bring these marketing budgets more into a more positive channel. Well, I would like to slowly wrap it up. Do you have anything to kind of give to all us here? Like, where should we continue? Do you have anything where you say you're going to come back next year? Would you have a wish to, I don't know, like be in contact in between with like kind of having another feedback version? Because obviously this is all, like, the whole thing is a concept in process, as so many things are. Like, it is try and error from the side of the organization, from the topics, from whatever goes into real life business and so on. So yeah, well, are you satisfied? Do you have suggestions, or how, when will we meet again? Well, I guess you're gonna come back anyway. We're kind of very connected here.
Yes, I come back, and I think it's a perfect place and situation to come together. I could imagine that it could be, I mean, I would somehow be part in so many challenges, so I would kind of like to know how next time either it's less challenges and more time for discussion, so that we can participate and improve more on the single projects, kind of to have, I don't know, I'm not at all an open source person. I could imagine that we could get more open source into each project when we have more discussion time, maybe. Yeah. So, although I wouldn't have missed one of the projects that we have here, I don't know, it's just an idea.
Maybe a bit of concentration.
Yeah, maybe less, but more work together, because I also thought that there's so many different talents in here, but I only spoke to such a few, and I would have kind of shared, also I have learned more about the single, I couldn't really follow all the presentations. Somehow it just got in my head and out again directly, and I kind of just would have needed more time to listen and discuss and kind of get back to it and follow the threads. But there's so many threads today, so I hope that through the documentation we can have another look on it, and that it also, through what comes out after, or how different people are taking on these threads and build up on it, that this might find a way in the documentation as well. So the growth of what started today will be visible.
Yeah, and I think this is actually the first year that Circular Economy has participated in the Open Source Circular Economy Days, and you know, obviously with textiles, you know, Gwen leads the textiles program, but we have a lot of other programs as well. Finance, healthcare, we're looking into healthcare, etc. So I think it's a great opportunity to kind of collaborate with multiple organizations on these kinds of topics, and yeah, we'd certainly love to come back next year to Berlin, and it was mentioned that there are a lot of other cities kind of working on it as well, and we're obviously looking to see how the concept of the circular economy, what's going on around the world, and how can we work together with all these organizations around the world. So it'd be great to connect with them also.
I was just here for a day, so I'll come for more time next time, I think. That's the first thing. But then, maybe too ambitious, but I would of course love to move from small prototype to maybe big prototype, like actually, especially when I saw the small scale version of the Philippe K store. You know, if you actually could hack a real space and begin to pull in those ideas and bring actual crowds into the room and get their immediate feedback and change it, then they leave, then you change it again, but work in more of a real life, on a real life scale, I suppose. I mean, for the 5.0 machine, that would be difficult because it's technology. But yeah, so push it a little bit more into real life, with more big scale user interaction, I think.
Yeah, well, that quite possibly could be the next step next year, since this location here will develop, and this is supposed to become even more of a hub, including production and everything. So who knows? Yeah, maybe not too far away.
Yeah, because I'm into the same kind of thinking that actually we would be nice to start next year by looking back. What happened from last year's prototypes? Where are they now? What's the status? How far did you go with a sorting machine, or yeah? So, or look at us. What have we done with a Philippa curation, for instance? That would be kind of to keep it a bit more as a reality and concrete, I guess. But as an answer, even though I think, I mean, there are so many solutions out there already, but the connections aren't really made yet. So this, just by doing this kind of forum where you collaborate, where you inspire each other, and you start to get those connections, that's what's so important, and that's what will actually create the change. So I think already there's several connections being made, and there's gonna be, it's gonna be a web of connections, actually. So I'm looking forward to see what we're gonna say next year when we're here.
We certainly will continue weaving, I guess, in between. So, but maybe then in like half a year we could already have like a short, send you a short reminder and ask you what has happened, and then because when we be planning the next one, we already have a bit of feedback if anything happened.
Yeah, I just saw on the Facebook page that you already started posting pictures of the maps that we made of the projects that we did, which is I think great, because a lot of the ideas that come up in these type of situations, they stay within this one-day period and they stay within the group. I mean, there's a lot of people here, but the world is really big, and I think we've shared all these ideas, but it would be great to find even better ways or more communicative ways to put it on the web or whatever, to really share the results that we came up with the world and to inspire people to come next time. And it's just, I thought of an idea that a friend of mine works as an illustrator, and he says that sometimes at the company where he works, a communication company, they do a brainstorm, and then he is tasked not to participate in the brainstorm, but just to visualize while the brainstorm is happening, visualize what everyone is saying and what the discussion is about. And it's basically what we try to do within the group here on the board, but it might be cool to have, you know, another person, an external person who's really great at putting these ideas onto paper or onto the computer or to where, just to be with the group the whole time, to listen to what is being said, and at the end of the day that you have something really sexy. The word used before, that everything needs to be sexy, otherwise people don't look at it. I think this is the same way. These boards are nice, and they work for a brainstorm, but I wouldn't send a picture of this to my mom saying like, hey, look at the great thing that we did yesterday. But if it would be turned into a really cool visual, I would, and then it might be really much easier to communicate and to work further on it next time.
Yeah, I mean, it's very complex topics we're talking about, so like as easy as possible to have the access and visualizations here, certainly great. But I know that actually we have people who work with the visual recording, I think is the term that's been used for this. That should be possible, and there's lots of people doing it in Berlin, and maybe we find some volunteers who next year keep on recording all the time. Yeah, nice. Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, if you have something to say and say goodbye, you can do that now. Otherwise, goodbye. I would say thank you so much. That was great. Also, like kind of your time and your bit of courage, maybe, to participate in this open well, circular-orientated space. But I think, from my point of view, seeing how it was last year and seeing it this year, it's a great development, and I'm very much looking forward how it's going to be next year, and hope all you come back and we grow as a network, and yeah, let's celebrate that for the next couple of hours, maybe still.
Thank you so much also for this inspiring wrapping up session, and I want to raise again that this event was created completely with like volunteers, like all the moderators, all the helping hands. It's just a big meaning for a community, I think, to give so much, and yeah, I really want to raise that again, and thank you for everyone who did everything.